4 races to go to the chase, and we're heading back to Michigan this weekend. It's going to be a little bit warmer and a little bit more interesting this time around. This is your NASCAR report. We're glad to have you. I'm Lauren Shehadi. Pete Pistone, our NASCAR reporter, on the other line. Pete, it has been a few days since that violent crash at Watkins Glen. Every time I see that replay, I just cringe because even though I know what's going to happen, I want to talk about Jeff Gordon and his back. It was injured before. How is he faring now?
Well, he says he's pretty sore, and we kind of figured that would be the case, Lauren. When he got out of the car on Monday, he was kind of cringing a little bit, but it takes a couple of days for that soreness to creep in, and it has. He feels like, though, he'll be ready. He's taking treatment for the weekend in Michigan. And, you know, Michigan is such a big, wide track. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's an easier track than I think something like a road course or a short track, which is where we go the following week in Bristol, Tennessee. So if he's not any better by Bristol, you might see somebody standing by as a relief driver. But at least in the short term, the good news is Jeff Gordon's feeling okay, and he expects to be behind the wheel Sunday in Michigan.
That is definitely good news. Good news also for Tony Stewart. His spot in the chase is locked up. So with 4 races to go, let me ask you this. Do you just cruise or do you take some chances? What do you think, Pete?
Well, you know, you need wins to get bonus points, Lauren, and that's how the chase is seeded. He has 3 right now in terms of wins, so he's near the top, but a couple more wins, he'll get that #1 seed locked up. So I actually spoke with his crew chief, Darian Grubb, and he said, you know what, we might take a few chances, maybe some gambles if pit road strategy works out that way, but by and large, they're going to do what they've been doing. And who can argue with that? I mean, they're so successful here in the first part of the season. Why mess around? And we saw a couple of years ago, you know, Jimmy Johnson had such a big lead in the regular season, and toward the last few races before the chase, they started to experiment, and things went haywire, and they got off to a really bad start in the chase. That's something that Darian Grubb and Tony Stewart certainly don't want to do. So I think it'll be business as usual, and as I said, the way things have been going, I still expect to see that 14 car run near the front of the field here in the next 4 races.
If I dare to use a cliche, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but that is certainly the case there. Okay, the Sprint Cup Series returns to Michigan this week. It was back there in June. The weather's a little bit hotter. That's one change. Does that have any effect? And other than that, do you go in with the same plan, Pete?
I think you do go with the same plan. I mean, the setups are going to be pretty much the same, but I think you hit on a really important thing there. The weather will be different. It was a little cooler back in June when we were in the Irish Hills. It's supposed to be in the mid-80s. That's pretty hot. That's pretty slick for the racetrack. And so you're going to see, I think, guys a little bit more loose than they were back in June. So the crew chiefs are probably going to go in there with the same setups and information from June. But I think as the weekend goes on, Lauren, you'll see them kind of adjust those cars. And certainly in the race. I mean, you might start one way, but if the driver radios in and says the car's handling a certain way and not doing what he wants it to do through the corners, you'll see changes on that. So I think it'll be business as usual. Plus, again, fuel mileage strategy. That always plays into things when we go to Michigan.
It's all about adjustment, right? Well, NASCAR has been racing at Michigan since 1969. Who do you got for me this weekend, Pete? What do you think?
Well, you know, I can't believe, again, we're heading into the middle of August, and the guy that won 9 times last year, Carl Edwards, has not won this year. It's amazing to me. He's pretty secure in terms of making the chase, but those guys really want to win. He's the defending race winner. Roush-Friendly Racing has always been very good up in Michigan, so I expect the 99 to be good, but again, as I mentioned before, fuel mileage is going to come into this, so it might not be the fastest car, it might be the crew chief with the best batteries in their calculator to figure things out, and Bob Osborne, who calls the shots for Carl Edwards, is pretty good at that as well. So I'm thinking about a backflip in the Irish Hills of Michigan on Sunday from Carl Edwards.
I like it. Carl Edwards definitely needs the win. Pete Pistone, many thanks.
Talk to you later, Lauren.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, hopefully. Keep it locked right here for all your NASCAR coverage. We'll see you soon.